Part 29. The Strongest Assassin in the Server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 281. On the Field. Ye Shen, your strength is worthy of recognition, but you have offended our mythology. Now that the guild has been disbanded, what can you do alone? Forbidden Fruit smiled slowly. There is someone who admires you very much. If you are willing, I can introduce you to him. Ye Chen thought that the Forbidden Fruit meant innocence, and sneered immediately. The countdown ended soon and the game began. Ye Chen knew that the Forbidden Fruit was difficult to deal with, so he summoned Xiao Hong at the first time. Who knew that the Forbidden Fruit was so fast that it controlled Ye Chen in an instant, causing his summoning to fail. Google searched Can. Next, the Forbidden Fruit raised his hands high, swayed left and right, and actually began to dance. And Ye Chen was like a puppet, controlled by an irresistible force, and was also forced to start dancing. Ha ha ha. The audience outside the field burst into laughter. Look, Ye Chen started dancing. 6666, what rhythm? You idiot, didn't you see that Ye Chen's movements were one beat slower than the Forbidden Fruit? And the Forbidden Fruit is a puppeteer, and now it is obvious that he has controlled Ye Chen. Come on, Forbidden Fruit. Do another difficult dance, I'll give you a thumbs up. It's a blessing to watch idols dance, come on, Forbidden Fruit. The audience was noisy, and the sound waves almost made the arena explode. The two hosts' words were like farts, and no one listened, or they couldn't hear them at all. It's over. In a corner of the audience, Tank stretched out his hand to cover his eyes. The scene was too beautiful, he didn't dare to look. The boss's reputation was ruined in an instant, and I didn't expect the Forbidden Fruit to be so strong. The crowd also pretended to shake their heads and sigh, but the corners of their mouths were full of unbearable smiles. Huo Wu smiled and said, I think this is a good thing. After this, the president will be more famous. Although he may not be willing. Yeah, the boss's reputation will become bigger and bigger, everyone said. Assholes, stop talking to you. It's easy to talk. If it were you, would you feel better? Tank shouted. Everyone pouted and laughed. Hey, Tank, if you really think so, don't record it. Tank, why, you are all recording, why don't I record it? In the arena. Ye Chen seemed to be unaware that his handsome dance had been recorded by countless people. Heh, Forbidden Fruit, you have a calm and low-key face, I thought your personality was the same. Ye Chen looked at the Forbidden Fruit opposite, dancing passively, and laughed, I didn't expect you to have such a bad taste. You are willing to sacrifice yourself to embarrass me. You can't say that. Ye Shen, don't look at the audience calling our names and cheering for me, but in fact, they don't know me at all. The Forbidden Fruit laughed, they just want to let you dance more through me. Under your halo, I'm afraid not many people pay attention to me, so there is no sacrifice. So that's it, Ye Chen sneered. Xiao He had already rushed out, and it wouldn't take long before he would stab the Forbidden Fruit to death. But before that, he still needs to be patient. At this time, the Forbidden Fruit raised his head, spread his hands flat, hooked one foot, and used only one foot to spin in place like a swan. Ye Chen was controlled and made the same move, which again attracted the audience's laughter. Ye Shen, you should know that many people are recording you now. Jingguo smiled and said, although I really want to help them complete the recording, I have to admit that your strength is too terrible. Just in case, I have to take action. Roar. After the Forbidden Fruit finished speaking, the roar of a beast sounded in front of him, and then a strong rhino flashed out and rushed towards Ye Chen. Iron Golem. Nightmare Doll. At the same time, the Forbidden Fruit also summoned some puppets, gathered together and moved towards Ye Chen. However, they had just rushed a few steps, and Xiao He was already close to the Forbidden Fruit transfer in an instant. In an instant, Ye Chen was freed from the control of the forbidden fruit, and exchanged positions with Xiao He and came in front of the forbidden fruit. With a sneer on the corner of his mouth, he slashed with a knife, -6389. Huge damage appeared on his head, and the forbidden fruit widened his eyes and fell down in disbelief. In yesterday's game, in addition to shadow attack, Ye Chen showed another teleportation skill. As soon as the game ended, Lisa was shocked and shouted, "But I didn't expect that his teleportation skill could ignore strong control." Everyone, please pay attention. Since Ye Chen has the teleportation skill to remove strong control, he can completely defeat forbidden fruit from the beginning, but he didn't do it. Xiaobo laughed wretchedly. In other words, he deliberately took this opportunity to let fans record it. Humph, it seems that Ye Chen is a reserved god, just like me, Xiaobo. Haha, nonsense, Xiaobo, even if Ye Chen is reserved, you are also open, the audience responded with a smile. Then the second game started, and forbidden fruit lost all his fighting spirit. He didn't expect Ye Chen to have the teleportation skill to remove control. Therefore, Ye Chen killed him instantly with a golden dart. After 2 wins in 3 games, Ye Chen successfully advanced to the next round. Teleported back to the audience, Ye Chen did not leave the arena this time. Because this round of promotion matches is over, the next round will be held. Because there were not many contestants, the waiting time would not be too long, so Ye Chen did not need to run around. Next, Ye Chen watched the game with peace of mind. Tank, Huowu, Monkey, Old Duck, and others all lost. In the entire main group, except for himself and Uncle Soy Sauce, there was no other qualifier. Oh no, there was one more, it was Bao Bao. Hey, how did Bao Bao get in? Ye Chen couldn't ask Bao Bao directly, so he poked Tank next to him and asked. This guy is too lucky. Every time he meets an opponent, it is almost the weakest. Tank sighed and complained, if I had such good luck. Hearing this, Ye Chen smiled and patted Tank on the shoulder and said, it's better to rely on strength than luck. The next ones should be strong, and he will stop here. Ye Chen and Tank chatted casually. Soon another game ended. The next one to play was Bao Bao, and his opponent Ye Chen knew was the archer girl with super high perception, Lan. Lan has high perception, but average strength. Although Bao Bao was criticized for his luck, his own strength was not bad, and Berserker had an advantage over Archer. It seemed that Bao Bao got an advantage again. Looking at the 2 people on the field, Ye Chen smiled bitterly and said to Tank, sorry, Tank, I was wrong, sometimes luck is really important. Hearing this, Tank looked at him with contempt. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 282. The game started soon. Bao Bao relied on his high defense and thick blood to chase after him with great strides. Lan, on the other hand, ran and fought and flew kites, causing some damage to the baby. But the arena was not big, and the kite could not fly for long. Finally, Lan was caught by Bao Bao while making a turn, and was slashed wildly. Just when everyone thought the ending was decided, Lan suddenly summoned a pet, which turned out to be a dragon. Not the Eastern Shenlong, nor the Western dinosaur, but the cartoon version of the elven dragon. Moreover, Ian's dragon seems to be a baby dragon, about half a yard long, with big eyes and an eggshell covering its lower body, looking cute. When the baby dragon appeared, a series of screams suddenly came from the auditorium outside the venue, especially the girl players, who were simply fascinated by the cuteness of the baby dragon. Yaya! As soon as the baby dragon came out, it cried out in a milky voice. When it saw its owner being bullied by the baby, it immediately became angry. It actually knocked the baby away, -1000. Then, it stood up again, waved its fleshy claws, and instantly a stream of holy light flew out and landed on Lan. A few seconds later, Ian's body was covered with various colored lights, like a goddess descending to earth. The residual blood that was cut down by the baby has now been restored to full value, and there is also an energy shield around the body. The baby was knocked away by the baby dragon, got up in frustration, and rushed towards Lan again. Lan also started to fight back. This time it was not a kite. In fact, there was no need for a kite. Her attack power suddenly became extremely high, and she was a critical hit every time. 3 arrows directly killed the baby. The audience was excited, and Lisa said, as player Ian's hidden trump card, Baby Dragon is really powerful. And its power may not be its attack power, but its auxiliary ability. The audience deeply agreed with her explanation. Ian's previous performance was mediocre, but after Baby Dragon came out and added a series of buffs to her, she became super powerful. Immediately after the second game started, Lan had revealed her trump card, so there was no need to hide it. As soon as the countdown ended, she decisively summoned the baby elf dragon. Seeing this, the baby sat down on the ground and said, "If you don't fight, I can't beat you anyway." Lan, you, a boy, actually surrender to a girl, you are so spineless. Baby, you are a boy or a girl. You are older than me. You don't let me click. You even summon pets. I don't even have pets. Lan said angrily, "What does it matter to me that you don't have a pet? I'll beat you to death, you little fat guy." Baby, ah. The game ended in a joyous atmosphere. In the audience, Yechen also looked shocked. This Lan was obviously very lucky. Although his strength was average, he had received super high perception and baby elf dragons one after another, which forcibly improved his strength. 1 minute later, the next game started, Uncle Soy Sauce vs Bastien. Bastien is the leader of the Xinhui Hall and is quite famous. Although he is not as good as Forbidden Fruit in terms of status, he is even more famous outside. But Uncle Soy Sauce is just an unknown person, and no one thinks highly of him. Even the main team members joked, "Uncle Soy Sauce, just show your face casually. You don't have to be as familiar with that boy Bastien." Haha, okay. Uncle Soy Sauce smiled and didn't take it seriously. He turned into white light and teleported into the ring. Bastien arrived first and had been waving to the surrounding audience. After seeing Uncle Soy Sauce, he sneered, "Uncle, I know you, aren't you just following the people around Yechen? Even at your age, your eyesight is still not that good. I would rather follow that stupid guy Yechen than come to our Xinhui." Myth. When I was conquering the world in Xinhui, where were you? Uncle Soy Sauce shook his head, but didn't say much. There were some things that he couldn't say and it was inconvenient for him to say. Also, games are played by us young people. You said you have a big beard, so why are you playing games? Playing with your son, Bastien sneered, causing the audience to burst into laughter. Bastien, how old are you? Uncle Soy Sauce suddenly asked. Bastien was stunned and said honestly, 28. Uncle Soy Sauce touched his chin and said, "Vicissitudes of life, I am also 28 years old." Impossible, you look like you're in your 40s or 50s. Bastien seemed frightened and took 2 steps back. "I'm not lying to you. The boss said I had great talent and drew me closer to the game when I was 12 years old." Uncle Soy Sauce seemed to be lost in memories, showing a smile that was partly resentful and partly warm. Crazy, Bastien cursed. He fully thought that Uncle Soy Sauce's boss was Yechen. In that case, even if Uncle Soy Sauce was 28 years old now, wouldn't Yechen still be drinking milk when he was 12 years old? How to attract people. However, the fact is that the boss mentioned by Uncle Soy Sauce is the former president of Xinhui. A corner of the auditorium. Tank was stunned. Uncle Soy Sauce is 28 years old. To be honest, I always thought he was 40 or 50 years old. Everyone, yeah, so are we. Yechen, Why are you like this? Uncle looks like he is in his 40s at most, okay. Suddenly, the old duck slapped his thigh. Damn, I thought he was in his 40s. He kept shouting big brother, and that guy always smiled and nodded. But I am 32 and he is only 28 years old. What a big loss. Everyone. After Uncle Soy Sauce revealed his true age, the main team was shocked, which shows how low-key Uncle Soy Sauce is. Soon the countdown ended and the game officially started. Both Uncle Soy Sauce and Ba Tien started to move. The audience outside the venue also watched carefully and thought. The last one was Lan vs Bayo Bayo, this one is Uncle Soy Sauce vs Ba Tien. 2 consecutive games were Archers vs Berserkers. Although Lan defeated the Berserkers on behalf of the Archers in the last game, the audience is still not optimistic about Uncle Soy Sauce. Regardless of reputation, Archers are inherently weaker than Berserkers. What's more, the reason why Lan defeated Bayo Bayo in the last game was entirely because of the elf dragon pet. However, they were not optimistic, and the situation on the battlefield shocked them. I saw Uncle Soy Sauce completely defeating Tyrant with an overwhelming advantage. Ye Chen was quite shocked by this result. He couldn't see the arena clearly, so he watched the close-up of the big screen. He saw Uncle Soy Sauce and Bassian facing each other. When Bassian raised the giant sword in his hand, Uncle Soy Sauce's eyes glanced to the left intentionally or unintentionally, and then his body rushed out like a galloping horse. Seeing this, Ba Tien slashed his sword towards Uncle Soy Sauce's left side, pulling out a red light. Soon after, Uncle Soy Sauce calmed down his momentum and moved lightly to the right, causing Bassian's attack to fail. Yuchen's expression suddenly became solemn, and under his concentration, the picture on the big screen seemed to slow down. Bassian's attack failed, and before he could withdraw his attack, Uncle Soy Sauce used his bow and shot an arrow, then rolled to the right, further distanced himself from Bassian, and continued to shoot. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, Ba Wang Shi-san. Chapter 283. Attack Induction Technique. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward arrow. Ye Chen's eyes condensed, and he recognized the operation method used by the uncle. The so-called attack induction technique is not a skill, but just a kind of operation micro-operation. Use eyes and body movements to induce, and then counter-attack. As long as the induction is successful, the opponent will be in the stage of retracting after the attack. At this stage, there will be a certain stiffness according to its own agility, and the counter-attack will be successful. This is stable. So counter-attack is not difficult, but induction is difficult. As early as the era of keyboard online games, attack induction technique already existed. But at that time, players faced computer screens with various restrictions, and attack induction technique seemed very vague and imperfect. At this moment, Uncle Soy Sauce showed the perfect attack induction technique, which was completely crushing. Twice in a row, Uncle Soy Sauce divided into the left and right sides to induce, making Tyrant fooled, and then counterattacked, and it worked every time. The third time, when Uncle Soy Sauce induced him again, Bassian sneered and attacked in the opposite direction. However, the attack induction technique is all about prejudgment and strike back. When Bassian attacked in the opposite direction, Uncle Soy Sauce really turned sideways in the induced direction and shot again, making Bassian anxious. Bassian guessed wrong repeatedly and was finally killed by Uncle Soy Sauce, and the audience cheered. It's actually the attack induction technique. The technology that was eliminated in the last era, I didn't expect that someone would bring it out and shine in this era. Wui's eyes condensed slightly, staring at Uncle Soy Sauce on the field. Wui still had an impression of this person. As early as in Kinyu City, the Myth Army strangled Yuchen and others, and Uncle Soy Sauce was the only one who survived except the thieves. Just based on this point, he had the capital to make we remember him. This uncle is extraordinary, Wushuan. If you face him, are you sure you can break his attack induction technique? We looked at Ao Wushuan and asked with a smile. Ao Wushuan smiled and said, attack induction requires prejudgment and strike back, but the enemy's speed is so fast that attack induction will be defeated. If I face him, I will change to agility suit. Very good, I was right about you. We laughed with satisfaction. Then the second game began. Bassian also received the news and changed to agility suit, which increased his speed but reduced his HP. And Uncle Soy Sauce also changed to another way of playing, using 7-star arrows to stun and armor-piercing arrows to break armor, combined with trap flow, and shot Bassian to death in 2 rounds. 2:0. The game ended, and the next contestant was welcomed on the stage. Uncle Soy Sauce also left the stage gorgeously and teleported to the audience. Tank and others were like chicken blood, and they went over to gossip and looked amazed. They surrounded Yuchen and Huao, and their faces were more amazed. The reason why they were not so shocked was that they had already guessed that Uncle Soy Sauce was not an ordinary existence, the first sharpshooter in the light camp, and this was not a joke. The reason for their surprise was that they had not expected Uncle Soy Sauce to be so strong. You should know that Bassian is also a top god. Compared with Huo Wu, their strength is comparable, at most 4:6 points, but Uncle Soy Sauce crushed them. Time passed by, the 4th round of promotion ended, and the top 16 were born. It is now past noon, halftime break, and the 16-8 game will start on time at 2 p.m. Yechen went online again after lunch, and pulled Uncle Soy Sauce to upgrade the Earth Dragon Palace dungeon. It was close to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the two of them withdrew from the dungeon and entered the arena. After the draw, the 16 strong men each determined their opponents and the order of appearance. Unexpectedly, Yechen's opponent was Shueisha. God Shueisha, I have always been looking forward to fighting with you on the court. Yechen looked at Shueisha with a smile. Humph, stop talking nonsense. My chance of winning against you is less than 10%, Shueisha snorted, his face as black as coal. The game started soon. Both sides were thieves, but neither of them used their signature stealth. At their level, almost all of them had blood-colored eyes, and stealth was like a decoration. Wind step. Both sides started wind step at the same time, and a whirlwind rolled up under their feet, rushing towards each other. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sound of breaking through the air sounded, and Shueisha threw a dart. When the dart approached Yechen's 3 yards, Shueisha used some skill to teleport and stepped on the dart. From top to bottom, he hit Yechen on the head with a stick. Stupefied. Shueisha had obviously practiced stupefied to a very high level, and stunned Yechen in an instant, but Yechen was relieved in an instant firm will. Shadow attack. Shueisha then slashed again, triggering shadow attack, and instantly came to 3 yards behind Yechen. Before Yechen could react, Shueisha threw another golden dart, stunning dart. The stunning dart hit Yechen's back, and once again stunned Yechen. This time, Yechen did not have a firm will and was truly controlled. The tense, intense, and cool premature fight had already attracted the audience's attention, and Shueisha's strength was also recognized. Yechen's current strength is already quite strong, and in the battle, Shueisha still took the initiative, which is enough to prove something. We can win. Unconsciously, a layer of fine sweat covered Shueisha's forehead, not because of nervousness, but excitement. Shueisha himself did not know how much he wanted to win. Now Yechen is controlled, and he has accumulated enough combo points. Backstab and finishing blow. Piercing. Shueisha held the dagger tightly in both hands, and rushed towards Yechen's back from 3 yards away. However, he didn't know that although Yechen was dizzy, Xiaohe was still free, and it had already run away first. Instant transfer. Whoosh. Shueisha's dagger stabbed out, piercing through a piece of air, emitting red light, extending nearly 10 yards. This is a very powerful piercing. Huh. Seeing that Yechen suddenly disappeared, and he only pierced through a piece of air, Shueisha felt something was wrong. He didn't even have time to observe Yechen's location, and fled forward. However, 2 yards to the right and rear, Yechen turned into a battle gyroscope, just spinning close to him, hitting a series of not-so-small damage. The Blade Storm has a strong adsorption ability. Yechen spins close to Shueisha, making Shueisha unable to escape at all. In 3 seconds, Yechen also accumulated enough combo points, and turned to come in front of Shueisha, slashing down with a sharp dagger with a cold light, minus 3,780. Shueisha's throat was broken, and his HP was exhausted and he died. In the first game, Yechen won without any pressure. Why no pressure? Because he still has too many cards, such as Resurrection, Flight, Fighting Spirit. But, although there was no pressure, Yechen was also very happy. Yechen was not joking at the beginning. Shueisha had always been the opponent he wanted to defeat head-on, and now it has finally come true. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wangshi-san. Chapter 284. Technically, Shueisha is undoubtedly the best, but he develops too slowly and has no means. On the other hand, Yechen has endless means. The second game started soon, and Shueisha also started with Flying Thunder God. Flying Thunder God is a rare skill of the thief at level 40. Shueisha had used it before. It is to shoot a dart first, and then teleport on the dart while it is flying. Shueisha knew that Yechen had the teleport skill to remove the strong control, so he stopped dizziness and attacked directly. Blade Storm, tightly attached to Yechen and rotated, but Yechen still used Xiao Hei's teleportation to jump away. When being attacked, teleport as well, Shueisha was stunned. After his Blade Storm ended, Yechen changed to the 1000 machine fan and shook it, and suddenly 3 golden darts were shot out at the same time, minus 1980, minus 2010, minus 1993. Shueisha's body was shot through by 3 golden darts, and he vomited blood and died. 2:0. The game is over, the winner is Yechen. Congratulations on advancing to the top 8, Lisa shouted with the microphone, which immediately boosted the atmosphere of the audience, and the cheers were blasted. I surrender, Yechen, remember to bring my share to the national competition after the game. Shueisha shook his head with a wry smile and said to. Isn't there still brother Ming Tian? Yechen smiled. His style is more vulgar, not as radical as you and me. I'm happier if you win the ranking. Shueisha waved his hand and teleported away from the ring. Yechen also returned to the audience and continued to watch the game. After the game lasted for an hour, the top 8 were born, namely Yechen, Uncle Soy Sauce, Wu Ziyi, Ao Wushuan, Ming Tian, Lan, Ikkyu, and Hei Long. Amid the screams of the audience, the 8 people came on stage. On the field, Yechen looked at the other 7 people, and always felt that something was missing in his heart. It felt like the person he was expecting didn't show up, but he couldn't remember who it was for a moment, and the fact that these 7 people were able to come here showed that they were extremely strong. Maybe it's an illusion? After all, there are too many people thinking about me. Yechen laughed at himself and forgot about it. Everyone, congratulations on advancing to the quarter-finals. No matter what the result of the next game is, you will represent the Bright Camp and participate in the national competition. Lisa smiled and greeted Yechen and others, attracting screams from the audience again. You know, the camp competition is actually a civil war. The contestants have no sense of mission at all, and they relax and act recklessly. But in the national competition, or even the world competition, the contestants represent the camp, or even the country. That kind of pressure is simply indescribable. Generally, new players often can't stand the pressure and make mistakes, which are criticized by players across the country. In the early years, there were often news reports that a certain professional player was depressed due to excessive pressure, retired before the game, or even committed suicide. Of course, that kind of situation usually doesn't happen in individual competitions, but in team competitions, international championships. The martial arts contest held this time is an individual competition, and it is held in stages. Currently, only the camp competition is held. The next stage of the national competition is tentatively scheduled to be held on the first day of March. Of course, it is only tentative. If there are any changes, the game officials will notify in advance. Dear audience, the 8-4 will be held tomorrow, as well as the semi-finals and finals. The champion will be determined at one time. Xiaobo said professionally, tickets will be available at 6 p.m. I hope everyone will not miss it. Today's competition has ended. In the final stage, the 8 contestants will draw lots to determine the order of tomorrow's competition and their respective opponents, Lisa said, and then the big screen began to rotate. 1. Yeshen vs Iki. 2. Wu Ziyi vs Hongming Soy Sauce. 3. Mingtian vs Lan. 4. Ao Wushuan vs Heilong. Yeshen. Yeshen. Seeing that Yeshen would be the first to go on stage tomorrow, the audience suddenly boiled up, and for a while, there was a tsunami. At this time, Yeshen suddenly received a private message. He opened it and saw that it was Yun Qian's encouragement, "Come on." The champion unlocks a sweet kiss. The corners of his mouth rose unconsciously, and Yeshen looked around. However, there were too many spectators on the scene, and he couldn't lock Yun Qian's coordinates at all. In fact, even if he knew the coordinates, he couldn't see them unless he was in the front row. So Yeshen gave up decisively. Just when he was about to reply to Yun Qian, he saw his next opponent, Iki, coming over. This guy had a bald head, wore a yellow monk's robe, and had Buddhist beads hanging around his neck. He was actually a hidden profession, monk. Monk is a unique profession in the Chinese war zone, just like the Japanese ninja. It is generally impossible for other countries to exist, unless they invade other countries and forcibly change their profession. Such professions are generally more powerful. Yeshen, I didn't expect you to be so famous. Did you see that the audience in the arena are almost cheering for you? Iki walked in front of Yeshen and smiled, and suddenly changed the subject, sneering, "If I beat you and make your fans sad, then wouldn't I, Iki, become a sinner?" The movement of the two people immediately attracted the attention of the other 6 people. Wu Ziyi, Ao Wushuan, and Heilong all sneered at Yeshen, as if they were happy to see Yeshen being suppressed. On the other side, Uncle Soy Sauce, Mingtian, and Lan looked at Iki with displeased expressions. A monk was so arrogant and aggressive, which immediately made them look down on him. "Okay, monk, you can make the sinner your target, but I think you may not be able to achieve even such a low-end target." Yeshen smiled and patted Iki's shoulder, and walked away. After Yeshen left the arena, he called Uncle Soy Sauce to continue brushing the Earth Dragon Palace. Except for the 2 brushes at noon, which were wasted, the 2 brushed 7 times in a row. Yeshen successfully reached level 40 and spent 25 gold coins to buy a book of Flying Thunder God at the auction house. Uncle Soy Sauce also reached level 39 and 54% experience. He is an archer. If he reaches level 40, he can learn a group attack skill of Arrow Rain, which is quite powerful. Little team leader, you can actually just focus on your own. Wu Ziyi has the 9-fold mirror, and there is also the black-winged tiger that appeared last time. I should not be its opponent. After brushing the dungeon, seeing that Yeshen was going to take him to the wild area again, Uncle Soy Sauce said hurriedly, "Do your best. You've been hiding it very well. I feel like you didn't use your full strength in the previous match." Yechen smiled and said, "It doesn't matter if you can't win. Try to find the way first and try to force him to show more strength." "Okay, I'll try." Uncle Soy Sauce smiled, looking calm and composed. He didn't seem to take the match seriously at all, or he didn't take Wu Ziwei seriously, hard to figure out. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 285. Since Yuchen had reached level 40, he bought the teleportation stone from the LV4 main city and teleported there. System, you discovered Thunder City, recognition at 30. Team teleport. With a thought, a teleportation array lit up at Yuchen's feet, and Uncle Soy Sauce teleported over. After that, Yechen led Uncle Soy Sauce to kill the level 4 monsters in the area. They killed all kinds of monsters instantly, and the experience of both sides skyrocketed. It wasn't until 2 o'clock in the middle of the night, when Uncle Soy Sauce's experience reached level 39 and 83%, that Huo Wu sent a message saying that he had found a suitable transfer guild. "How is the situation?" Yuchen asked. "The LV6 guild has about 3,000 vacant positions, which can allow our elite group to join as soon as possible. It is suitable in all aspects." Huo Wu smiled and said, "What's more important is that the president is your fan. It's up to you to talk about it. The success rate is as high as 99%. "Great, send me the president's message and I'll be there right away." Yuchen replied to Huo Wu's message and looked at Uncle Soy Sauce. "It's okay, little leader, you go and do your work first." Uncle Soy Sauce smiled and waved his hand. Seeing that he was fine, Yechen teleported to Longyang City and ran towards the coordinates provided by Huo Wu. More than 10 minutes later, Yuchen contacted and found the president. He was a young man of 18 or 9 years old, whose ID was Big Fried Chicken, and his profession turned out to be a rare summoning hidden profession, an animal tamer. As soon as the other party saw Yechen, he suddenly looked excited and shouted loudly, "Hello, Lord Ye." Yechen smiled and thought that Sister Hua was right, this guy was indeed his fan. However, he wanted to think so, but he deliberately said, "Why, do you know me?" "Of course I know you. I'm your #1 fan. I've watched every game you play recently." Big Fried Chicken said excitedly, and suddenly sighed again, regretting, "It's a pity that I just changed my profession as an animal trainer, and I haven't had time to catch a few good babies. Otherwise, maybe we can compete on the same stage. Animal tamer is a very good profession." "How many pets can you summon at the same time?" Yechen asked again. "5, but the only one I can use now is one lord." Big Fried Chicken chuckled and said, "By the way, brother, actually, I'm going to find you after the martial arts tournament is over." "Hee hee, I didn't expect that you found me first. I'm so touched." Yechen was startled. "Do you know why I'm looking for you?" "Of course I know, it's the transfer guild," Big Fried Chicken said nonchalantly. How did you know?" Yechen was shocked and speechless. "You know, Huo Wu and others only checked the information and had no conversation with Big Fried Chicken at all. In other words, I guessed the Big Fried Chicken." Yuchen suddenly had a bad premonition and began to suspect that this guy was innocent and deliberately set the hook. However, Big Fried Chicken said, "Because I am your #1 fan. You may not believe it, but my guild exists just to wait for you to transfer contracts. The guild's name is Throne. It's domineering enough, it's tailor-made for you." "Really?" Yuchen narrowed his eyes. "It's amazing, my brother, I've explained it to this point, but you still don't believe it." Big Fried Chicken smiled bitterly and said, "I also know that this matter needs to be treated with caution, so I'll start from the beginning. Since the God Killer was destroyed by the myth, I have thought about myself as you, what should I do next, and what do I need? After 3 nights, I finally thought of it." Big Fried Chicken chuckled and said, "You are the man I admire. I know you will not give in and will definitely make a comeback. But if you want to make a comeback, a guild is necessary. But at that time, the Hall of Fame and the God Killers were wiped out one after another. The Killers Guild was just a bounty alliance and could not do much. In other words, in the light camp at that time, mythology almost covered the sky with one hand. Of course, it is also now. Big Fried Chicken said with a smile, once God Killer 2 is created again, it will definitely be targeted by Shinue, with almost no possibility of survival. So, I thought of subcontracting. So I immediately created the guild, which is now thrown. In order to upgrade the guild level, I spent money and found a lot of sailors. When the guild reached LV6, I knew that it would be very difficult to continue upgrading, so I stopped deliberately upgrading. Big Fried Chicken continued, then, I started to impose strict requirements, and even deliberately made things difficult, and forced the disobedient and inactive sailors out of the guild. Because I needed to make room to accommodate the army of God Killers. Haha, good. Big Fried Chicken gave a wonderful speech and conquered Yuchin directly. He couldn't help but clap his hands and applaud. Now he has no reason not to believe that Big Fried Chicken is really one of his own. In fact, subcontracting is a very clever technique, and Yechen only learned about it because of his previous life experience. But in this life, the game has just been launched for less than 3 months. If you are innocent, you may not know how to transfer the package. But Big Fried Chicken talked about everything and summarized every detail. Yechen had no reason not to believe him, and Yechen was even very moved. The two parties were not close friends, and Yechen didn't even know each other. Under such circumstances, Big Fried Chicken could still do so much for him regardless of the consequences or reward. How could he not be moved? Big Fried Chicken, you have a strong sense of strategy. It's really rare that you thought of changing the contract immediately, Yechen praised heartily. Because I was so focused, I really thought of myself as you during those 3 days. Big Fried Chicken smiled and said, by the way, there are 3,000 people in the throne now. I can't rule out the existence of spies. Should we kill them all? I'd rather betray the whole world than let the whole world betray me. Haha, that's not necessary, because even if it's the original team of the God Slayer, there can't be ruled out the existence of spies. Yechen smiled indifferently, spies are like scabby dogs, you can't get rid of them. Big Fried Chicken nodded and said excitedly, then when will you join the meeting? Well, after the game ends tomorrow, you will be responsible for the response at any time, Yechen said seriously. Okay. After the important things were discussed, Yechen and Big Fried Chicken chatted for a while, and then quickly dispersed. After all, the matter was of great importance, and it was also necessary to avoid suspicion, so as not to be seen by some people with ulterior motives. At 10 o'clock the next morning, in the arena, Yechen and Iki stood opposite each other, 30 yards apart. The match started with the screams of the audience. Iki opened the diamond shield before Yechen approached. The diamond shield is a golden protective shield, 2 yards in size, which completely covered Iki. Then, Iki smiled recklessly, as if he thought Yechen could not break his defense at all. However, Yechen rushed over and hit hard. With a bang, the diamond shield shattered like a mirror. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wangshi-san. Chapter 286. The Vajra shield was shattered on the ground, and Brother Yuxia was stunned on the spot. He originally thought that Yechen could not break through his defense, but Yechen shattered the Vajra shield with one move. You are obviously weak, but you think you are strong, and you stop there. With a sneer on his lips, Yechen held up a dagger and slit Brother Yuxia's throat with a knife. As blood spurted out, Brother Yuxia fell unwillingly. The audience suddenly burst into excitement, but the faces of Xinhui and others were as gloomy as if they were covered with a layer of black mist. Ye Shen's damage is too high. If I face him, I am no match, Ao Wushuan said with a bitter smile. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. In addition to being innocent, he is the only contestant left in the current mythology. Hearing this, Sinless face turned gloomy again. He owns the 9-layer mirror and has developed it to the 7th level. But even so, he is still very afraid of Yuchen's damage. If he can kill him instantly with one sword, 8 consecutive swords can kill him. However, his damage is also very high. Because of the 9-fold mirror, he does not need to accumulate physical strength and only uses burst and speed. The current situation is that although Ye Shen is only a thief, his blood volume has reached 5500 plus, and with defense and resistance, I may not be able to kill him in seconds. Gu Wuxin muttered to himself, and this guy also has a domineering body. I need to find a way to deceive him into dominating the body before I have a chance. If he has no other means, my chance of winning is more than 80%. On the other side, Yuchen and Brother Yuxia quickly started the second game. After the last battle, Brother Yuxia had lost his will to fight. His proud defense was easily broken by Ye Chen, and he had no chance of winning. So, Ye Chen rushed over and made another simple and crude instant kill. There is no gorgeousness at all, but it deeply attracts the attention of the audience. This is also a kind of beauty and violent aesthetics. After many consecutive games, Yuchen's popularity is getting higher and higher, with more and more supporters, and he is aiming for the championship. Next, the game between Innocence and Uncle Soy Sauce began. In fact, what the audience wants to see most right now is, Yuchen PK is not guilty. They all know that sooner or later these two will have a battle, which will probably be the final. But before the two faced each other, the audience could only temporarily suppress the restlessness and expectations in their hearts and watch the match between them and their respective opponents. Rain of Arrows. As soon as the game started, Uncle Soy Sauce unleashed the Archer's level 40 ultimate move, shooting arrows of light into the sky, and then raining them down towards Gillen. With such power, I am afraid that any object will be shot into a hedgehog. Bang bang bang. -429. -432. -497. The rain of arrows fell, and Sinless instantly summoned the black-winged tiger mount, trying to escape from the range of the rain of arrows. The black-winged tiger seems to have a very high movement speed bonus, or perhaps Wuxin himself is wearing an agility suit. He moves very fast, like a black whirlwind, but it is still not as good as the arrow rain, and a series of damage appears above his head. The 9-fold mirror was not activated immediately, because the arrow rain was a group attack with multiple levels of damage. Any arrow in the arrow rain could not threaten the innocent life, so the 9-fold mirror could not activate its effect. In an instant, the blood bar above Su Xian's head plummeted to freezing point, with only over 100 HP left. Then click, click, the sound of the mirror breaking sounded one after another. In 1 second, just 1 second, all the arrows rained down, piercing hundreds of holes in a large area of Zhenzun's position, causing smoke and dust to rise. The next second, Wu Xing rushed out of the smoke and dust on a mighty black tiger mount, his face full of gloom and rage. Now he only has 176 HP left, and he can't use consumables at all during the game, and he has no HP recovery skills, so he can't recover at all. In other words, if he receives more than 176 points of damage now, the 9-layer mirror will automatically activate, and the 9-layer mirror has already broken through 4 layers before, leaving only the last 3 layers. Uncle Soy Sauce hits him more than 4 times and the game is over. What a terrifying arrow rain. Wuxin was furious and shocked. As far as I know, This uncle was only level 39 yesterday, which means that this guy has just reached level 40 and should only have LV1 arrow rain. But the arrow rain he releases now, at least LV7. Guilty is worthy of being a top master, his eyesight is very sharp, he guessed it completely. In order to target his 9-layer mirror, Uncle Soy Sauce directly added all the accumulated skill points to arrow rain, LV7. The fierceness of the battle was unexpected, and the audience suddenly burst into excitement. That uncle is so strong, I'm afraid he will lose if he is innocent. Yes, it's no secret that Wu Wu possesses the 9-layer mirror. Although we don't know how many layers he has developed, he only has more than 100 HP left. Uncle Soy Sauce can break a layer of mirror with one arrow. Wu Wu is afraid that there is no way to save it. Hey, I thought that Sinless would compete with Yeshen, but I didn't expect that I would mention dismounting now. Tisk tisk, that's not necessarily true. Look at the arena. Apart from anger, there is no panic in Wuxin's eyes. Maybe he has a trump card. While the audience was talking, the arena changed again, and the innocent black tiger pounced towards Uncle Soy Sauce. Guilty didn't move, only Black Tiger pounced out. You must know that although the Black Tiger is a mount, the mount itself is also a type of pet in Dream World, and the mount also has its own combat effectiveness. And this Black Tiger is probably of a high grade. Roll. Multiple arrows. As expected by all the audience, Uncle Soy Sauce completely ignored the Black Tiger. After rolling, he drew his bow and shot at Wuzui, minus 1630, minus 1870, minus 1790. Uncle Soy Sauce's multiple arrows were 5 layers, and they were combined like saw teeth to hit Wuzui. Wuzui's head was damaged, but the remaining blood bar did not decrease, and the sound of the mirror breaking did not sound. But at this moment, a very light, translucent black chain appeared between Wuzui and the Black Tiger that ran away. Immediately, a gloomy atmosphere spread to the entire arena. Soul connection. When Wuzui was hurt, the iron chain vibrated slightly, and then the Black Tiger roared inexplicably, and the blood bar flowed. Hiss, pets take damage for themselves. The sound of gasps in the audience rose and fell. You know, any Lord Pet has tens of thousands of HP in this case, using soul connection is simply terrifying. Uncle Soy Sauce's eyes also condensed, and he took a step to the side and attacked the Black Tiger in the opposite direction. He still needs a final test. Maybe the soul connection is to bear damage to each other. However, when he attacked the Black Tiger still lost HP in the end. Die! Wuzui roared, rushed over and killed Uncle Soy Sauce with a flaming slash. At the end of the first game, Uncle Soy Sauce actually gave up and returned to the audience. Such a decisive and chic move made countless audiences speechless. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 287. Little leader, are you satisfied with this result? Uncle Soy Sauce returned to the audience and said with a smile. Quite satisfied, but the innocent trump card isn't that good either. Yechen smiled. Nonsense, of course it doesn't matter if you kill tens of thousands with one sword. Ordinary players have nothing to do when faced with soul connection, Tank said speechlessly from the side. Yechen, don't be so exaggerated. With a normal attack, I can kill 15,000 people with one sword. How can tens of thousands be so terrifying? Everyone, pervert, 15,000 is not enough. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Uncle Soy Sauce abstained, won without guilt, and advanced to the top 4. Next up were Mingtian and Lan. After the game started, Lan immediately summoned the elf dragon baby. The dragon baby screamed milkily, and several rays of holy light rose between the two fleshy claws and landed on Lan. As a result, Lan was shrouded in various colorful lights, like a goddess descending to earth. Lan was enhanced with various buffs, his speed became extremely fast, and he could shoot continuously with his bow. You must know that in addition to the skills of an archer, the arrows shot by normal attacks are all consumables. Normally, contest does not allow the use of consumables, but some professions are exceptions, such as thieves' darts, archers' arrows, and musketeers' bullets. Darts, arrows, and bullets are, after all, the means of attack for these professions, so they are allowed to be used. As for potions, that is absolutely not possible. On the other side, Ming Tian felt that Alexander was too fast, and he could hardly dodge, let alone rush forward. And the opponent is an archer with the passive skill Eagle Eye, making his stealth look like a decoration. As time passed, Ming Tian was gradually forced to a corner of the ring by Lan. Ming Tian knew that if he didn't break through, he would have to play for fun, so he was cruel and took an arrow and forced his way through. But after being hit by an arrow, Ming Tian felt as if he was struck by lightning, with a bitter smile on his lips. As the arrow hit Ming Tian, a trace of electricity faintly flowed from the tip of the arrow, which not only added light damage, but also had a paralysis effect. Ming Tian was shot with an arrow, his HP suddenly dropped by 1/3, and he was paralyzed. Beauty, I never thought that you, a humble person, could be so powerful. Even I, Ming Tian, fell into your hands. Tian was paralyzed and couldn't move, and he suddenly smiled bitterly. It's almost as good as less. Lan replied with a smile, and shot multiple arrows from her bow. Her multiple arrows were not as powerful as Uncle Soy Sauce's. There were only 4 light arrows connected together, but they still took away Ming Tian's life. In the first game, Lan won. Game 2. Based on the test in the previous game, Ming Tian vaguely knew Ian's strength. As soon as the game started, Ming Tian used the Flying Thunder God to attack, and combined with the sap, he took Lan away with one set. Cool. In the audience, Shueisha waved his hands excitedly. Ming Tian's personality is much more stable than his, and his style of play is relatively low-key and cautious, but the combo just now was very sharp and powerful, showing his solid skills and strong strength, and there is no fault at all. The game became tense with a 1-1 draw and the audience was divided into 2 factions, cheering for both sides. However, Ming Tian had a calm expression on his face. He had already figured out his style of play and was confident in the next game. At the beginning of the third game, Ming Tian still started with the Flying Thunder God and instantly got close to Lan. At this time, Lan had just summoned the baby elf dragon. Sap. Blade Storm. Ming Tian almost used the same method, first feinting Lan, and then turning into a spinning top. In less than 2 seconds, he would have accumulated enough combo points, and then he could easily kill Arashi instantly with a piercing through the heart, or a critical strike. Suddenly, the baby dragon's bright big eyes suddenly turned red, and with a roar, its body expanded rapidly and turned into an upright blue Tyrannosaurus. Crash! The blue Tyrannosaurus rushed out violently, plowing a deep ravine on the ground. The violent force directly knocked the gyro-shaped Ming Tian away. Lan was freed from the adsorption of the blade storm, and a rain of arrows struck him. He took away the remaining blood of Ming Tian. 2:1, Lan wins. As if to celebrate the victory, the Tyrannosaurus raised its head and roared, and the roar formed shock waves that shook the entire audience. Wow, it's actually a Tyrannosaurus. That's awesome, my brother. It seems that this pet is of a high level. Lan has advanced to the top 4, do you think it will threaten Yagamai's status as a sinless person? There were various discussions in the audience, while Ming Tian had a wry smile on his face. He didn't expect that he was so wise in his life, but in the end he was defeated at the hands of an unknown little girl. You've done the math. At least you'll advance to the quarterfinals, and you can still participate in the national competition, or even the world competition. What about me? What hope is there? After Ming Tian teleported back, Shueisha immediately complained with pain on his face. Although he was complaining, Mingtian was in an inexplicably better mood. Mingtian, indeed, I am much luckier than you. Blood killing. 1 minute, the fourth game begins, Ao Wushuan vs Black Dragon. The first 3 games aroused the anger of the audience, and they had relatively high expectations for this game, but the results were indeed unexpected. Ao Wushuan and Black Dragon both performed very mediocrely. In the end, Black Dragon defeated Ao Wushuan 2:0. Wushuan, how could you lose so easily? Ao Wushuan asked innocently after returning to the audience. Ao Wushuan's eyes flickered, and he apologized, sorry, boss, I'm not in good shape today. Forget it, in fact, your strength is beyond my expectation. I am already very satisfied that you can enter the quarterfinals. It's just that you did not perform well in this game. Wuzui waved his hand and said no more. At this time, Wuzui suddenly felt that something was wrong, but he was in a state of tension before the battle, and he didn't want to think about it, so he gave up. I believe that the audience is as excited as I am, because the top 4 have come out, namely Yeshen, Wuzui, Lan, and Heilong. These 4 players are looking forward to their performance in the semifinals and the finals. Lisa took the microphone and heated up the atmosphere in an instant. Approaching Yechen and others to go on stage, decide the opponents of the game. 1. Wuzui vs Heilong. 2. Yeshen vs Lan. Please welcome Wuzui and Heilong, Xiaobo said, and Yechen and Lan immediately stepped down to make room for the contestants. The game started soon. Black Dragon was a necromancer who summoned a massive army of skeletons in an instant and besieged Wuzui. Soul connection. Wuzui pulled out an iron chain between himself and the black tiger under his crotch and rushed forward, but Black Dragon continued to summon new undeads, skeleton knights. Humph, this guy didn't summon these skeleton knights when he fought with Wushuan. Wuzui snorted coldly, and the black-winged tiger roared, sweeping away the skeletons beside him and rushed out. Then Wuzui turned back and slashed with a sword. For a moment, the 2 dragons roared and almost wiped out all the undead. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 288. After killing a large number of undead with one ultimate move of Gillen, the black tiger flapped its wings and actually flew up. Searched Can on Google. Although it was only flying at a very low altitude, it was much faster and rushed towards the black dragon. However, the black dragon suddenly summoned a bone wall, and Wuxin couldn't react for a moment. He rode the black tiger and hit the bone wall, causing both of them to fall into a dazed state. The next moment, the black dragon's staff waved, and several dark teleportation arrays appeared in front of him. Immediately, countless pale skeletons crawled out and surrounded Wuxin and Black Tiger with explosive hammers. Skeleton Knight? With a stern look in his eyes, the Black Dragon summoned 2 more mighty skeleton knights. They held bone knives in their hands and rode skeleton horses, attacking Wuxin crazily through the bone wall. The bone wall is released by the Black Dragon, so the skeleton knight can penetrate it. In 2 seconds, Wuxin was surrounded by massive skeletons and suffered unbearable pain. The black tiger who was connected to his soul howled and died tragically in an instant. Immediately afterwards, Guilty's HP dropped to freezing point, and the sound of broken mirrors was heard one after another. Fiery slash. Sinless roared angrily, and raised his long sword high to cut down a long flame. The flame was like a roaring fire dragon. It broke through the bone wall in an instant, swallowed the 2 skeleton knights, and then drowned the black dragon. However, after the flames dissipated, the black dragon's whole body was burned black, but in the next moment, bone fragments began to fall from his body. Looking at the black dragon's health bar, he couldn't even move. Haha, not guilty, now you have nothing to do. Now your HP is less than 200 points, and the 9 layers of mirror have been broken. I don't know how many layers have been broken. Let's see how many seconds you can hold on before my undead army, as if victory was in sight. Black Dragon couldn't help laughing wildly. In the auditorium outside the stadium, countless spectators stared wide-eyed. This Black Dragon was a strong man who had suddenly risen and did not receive much attention. But now, he has forced Zunguo to the point where there is no way out. What a monster! He actually pushed Zunzun to this point. The Black Dragon is strong enough. It's insidious enough. After all, he is a necromancer. He is naturally powerful. What's more important is that this Black Dragon's MP is too strong. After summoning 2 waves of undead in a row, there is still plenty of MP. It seems that Guilty is about to be dismounted. It's incredible. 666, some people said so last time when Wuxin fought against that uncle. However, the result was that Wuxin didn't win. How do you know that the great god Wuxin has no other trump card? Well, I'm speechless. The audience's emotions were heightened to the point of explosion in an instant. Guilty did not disappoint the audience, he indeed had a trump card. In the sea of skeletons, a pair of sacred white wings suddenly rose up from Wuxin's back. The wings flapped downwards, creating a shockwave, and Wuxin soared into the air. Wow! Wings! What a sin! It's been less than 3 months since the game was launched, and the innocent ones actually have wings. How can we still play? The appearance of Guilty wings immediately shocked the audience. At this time, the 9-layered Mirror of Innocence had a total of 7 floors, 6 of which were destroyed, leaving only the last floor. And he himself only has the last 100 or south HP points left. But when he flew, the skeletons couldn't attack him. Humph, you are a nobody, and you still want to compete with me in the sun and the moon? Who am I, sinless, and how could I fall into your hands? Sinless stood in the void, with his holy wings flashing slightly behind his back, like a god who dominates everything. Haha, you only have a trace of health left now, and you died after just a few hits. How dare you speak harshly? Black Dragon sneered, raised his hand and shot a bone spear, but was easily avoided by Gillen. Then give it a try. Wu Wu snorted coldly and swooped down. At this moment, the Black Dragon once again summoned 2 skeleton archers and shot bone arrows into the sky, forcing Wu Wu back. The game went through many twists and turns, and the audience immediately became excited, with all kinds of cheers and cheers exploding. The final result was both unexpected and unexpected. Black Dragon was defeated, but not by being defeated head-on by Sinless, but because his MP was exhausted, and all the undead died in an instant, and was easily killed by Sinless. The first session ends and the second session begins. Now that Wu Zun has exposed his trump card, he no longer hides his secrets. He spreads his wings and stands in the void as soon as the game begins. Not guilty, I lost this time, but don't be too happy, you won't be arrogant for long, Black Dragon sneered when he was about to lose. I'll wait and see. Wu Wuxin exhaled from his nostrils, smiled contemptuously, and slashed with his sword to win the victory. Innocence left the stage with cheers from the audience. This game brought him a lot of popularity and gained a lot of supporters. Everyone is looking forward to the battle between Innocence and Yashin, but no one knows who will be the champion, and it is difficult to predict. Because these 2 people are too strong, beyond their knowledge. But before Yachin has a decisive battle with Wuxin, there is still a hurdle ahead, and that is Lan. Ian's strength is also obvious to all. If Yachin wants to win against her, it may not be that easy. Amid the speculation of the audience, Yachin and Lan came on stage one after another. Next, the next finalist will be determined. Please count down with me. Lisa also tried her best to cheer up the atmosphere, and then the audience went up to the mountain to roar like a tsunami, counting the seconds with the system. On the field, the 2 also started talking. It seems that the 2 sides know each other and share the same difficulties. Last time Yachin guarded the snow village alone, Lan used his powerful perception to help a lot. Before parting, Ye Chen offered to express his gratitude and was ready to lend Lan his somersault cloud so that he could brush the void and win the title of Perceiver to further strengthen his perception. But Lan refused disdainfully. "Hi, we met at that time, and now I know you. It turns out you are so powerful." Lan looked at Ye Chen and smiled. Ye Chen sweated a little. In fact, when he was guarding the snow village, he was already famous. "I didn't expect Lan to know him now. You are also very powerful, beyond my expectation." Ye Chen smiled and said, "I wanted to express my gratitude at that time, but you refused for no reason, but it is still valid now, if you still need it." "Okay." Lan agreed readily, with a pair of big eyes smiling and curved into crescents. While the two chatted, the audience and the system counted down together, and the game began. Flying Thunder God. Ye Chen raised his hand and threw a dart, and the sound of breaking through the air sounded, and he approached Lan in an instant. The next moment, Ye Chen teleported and stepped on the dart. At this time, Ye Chen was no more than 3 yards away from Lan. At this time, Lan also summoned the baby elf dragon, which turned into a Tyrannosaurus in an instant. However, Ye Chen knew her method, and immediately broke the white dagger in his hand, activated the martial arts technique, and entered the domineering state. Roar! The Tyrannosaurus roared and slammed into Ye Chen, producing fierce and dazzling sparks, but Ye Chen did not move. The Tyrannosaurus was stuck because it could not hit him, and plowed the ground on the field, causing dust to fly. Immediately, Ye Chen cut Ian's delicate throat with a knife. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 289. One move. Ye Chen is too fast, and his damage is also better than Ming Tian. This result seems to be expected. Yes, he also has a domineering body, even Tyrannosaurus can't knock him away. Seeing Ye Chen kill Lan in one move, the audience was boiling, and countless spectators even stood up and cheered. In a corner of the audience, Shueisha glanced at the depressed Ming Tian and smiled, "You really don't lose out. Ye Chen has an extra domineering body and double the damage." Hearing this, Ming Tian smiled bitterly and had nothing to say. At the beginning, they looked at Ye Chen like a senior looking at a junior with potential, but now Ye Chen has surpassed them too much. At the beginning of the second game, Ye Chen used the same method to kill Lan in 1 second, won the victory, and successfully advanced to the finals. The exciting moment is coming. The finals, Ye Chen vs Wu Ziyi. Who will be the champion of the light camp? Everything depends on this game. The host Lisa's words once again ignited the atmosphere on the scene, attracting countless cheers. After many previous matches, the strength of Ye Chen and Wu Ziyi has been recognized by the audience. The two are extremely powerful and have countless means, they each have supporters, and they are arguing constantly for a while. But Wu Ziyi seems to have more supporters, because Wu Ziyi has wings and can fly, which is an irreversible advantage, and Ye Chen's snake wings have never been exposed to the audience except for his own people. 3, 2, 1. Ye Chen and Wu Ziyi stood opposite each other, 30 yards apart, and each of them thought about their starting moves during the countdown. Obviously, neither side is so easy to defeat. Ye Chen has a dominant body, while Wu Ziyi has a 9-layer mirror and soul connection. You know, the special effects of the 9-layer mirror are refreshed once a day, and refreshed once every morning at 6 o'clock. But now in the competition, all skills will be automatically refreshed in every game, which means that Wu Ziyi has a great advantage. The countdown finally ended, and both sides took action. Doqi. Ye Chen activated his Doqi immediately, and a strong aura burst out from his body instantly. The next moment, a circle of red dochi with a range of 1 yard rushed up from his feet. LV1 dochi is about 0.3 yards high, reaching Yechen's calf. It is like a raging fire and a sharp sword aura, constantly cutting the surrounding air and producing a buzzing sword sound. Everyone's dochi color is different, and it is automatically distinguished according to the characteristics of each player. The reason why Yechen's dochi is red is that he is strong in fire. If he is strong in ice, his dochi is blue. If he is strong in light, his dochi is white. If he is strong in darkness, his dochi is black. For masters of poison, dochi is purple. For masters of agility, dochi is cyan. For masters of strength, dochi is dark red. There is an essential difference between the dochi color of masters of fire, which is bright red and dark red for strength. For wise men, dochi is green. For defenders, dochi is yellow. In short, each characteristic has its corresponding dochi color. In the later stages of the game, various sanctuary masters fly around in the sky with dochi. Generally, high-end players with good eyesight can easily distinguish their strongest characteristics based on the color of their dochi. Because the color of dochi itself is stimulated based on the player's strongest characteristics. This is the color of dochi, and the size of dochi varies according to the LV of dochi. Yechen's dochi is only LV1, with a range of 1 yard and a height of only 0.3 yards. After the dochi is increased, the range becomes larger and the height becomes higher. LV7 top dochi, with a range of 2 yards, covers the whole body. Even has damage. Fighting low-level monsters, just walk over and kill them instantly. Of course, dochi can only be obtained by majors and higher military ranks. Compared with billions of players around the world, those who can truly reach the rank of major are as rare as national treasures. What's more, generals and marshals. I'm afraid there are only a few marshals in a country. Yechen actually has dochi, it's so handsome that it's eye-catching. 666, so cool and domineering. So handsome that there is no friend, brother Yechen, I want to give birth to a baby for you. Give birth to a baby, how can you, a man, give birth to a baby? On the field, Yechen suddenly activated dochi, which shocked the audience in an instant, and all kinds of screams rose and fell. There was no way, Yechen's steps were too advanced. When ordinary players were still low-level soldiers, he was already a colonel. Major, maybe other countries exist, but there is only Yechen in the Chinese theater now. Now no one knows the effect and origin of dochi. Because of this, Wu Ziwei looked gloomy and became nervous. Wind step. Blood blade. Poison. War cry. The next moment, Yechen activated buffs one after another, stirring up whirlwinds and dochi under his feet, and holding a blood sword in his hand, which was covered with a layer of purple because of poison. Purple and red are compatible, turning into dark red, and glowing, like an evil soldier. When combined as a whole, Yechen is like an evil killer, breaking the ground with 1 foot and rushing out. Wherever Yechen passes, the ground is plowed by sharp fighting spirit, forming a continuously extending gully, and smoke and dust rise behind him. On the other side, Wu Ziwei's face was covered with cold sweat. He looked at Yechen's current appearance, and his mind was lost, and he was trembling with fear. But even so, he took the opportunity to open multiple buffs, summon the black-winged tiger, and opened the soul connection. The next moment, a black evil iron chain appeared between Wu Zui and the black tiger. Black wind. Wu Zui rode the black tiger and rushed towards Yechen. During the charge, the black tiger opened its mouth and spewed out a black gust of wind. Break the martial arts. Yechen's eyes were stern, and he immediately broke the white dagger in his hand, entered the domineering state, and went straight into the wind, -32, -43, -38. Weak damage continued to emerge from the top of his head, but Yuchen didn't care at all. He rushed forward and used the blood sword to cut the black tiger's throat. Cut the throat. Dash. Black blood rushed out like a waterfall, and the black tiger's eyes turned white. He actually fell down directly, and then turned into white light and disappeared. A blood ball rose from it and rushed into Yuchen's eyebrows, restoring a lot of blood. Of course, Yuchen himself didn't consume much HP, so it was unnecessary to recover at this moment. Black Tiger died, Wu Ziwei came down from midair, and for a moment he was a little unstable, and Yuchen slashed at him casually. Minus 9250. Crack, the mirror shattered, Wu Ziwei was struck by lightning. The audience was also collectively stunned, their eyes widened, and their faces were full of disbelief. So strong. Yuchen is so strong. Completely crushed. As strong as Wu Ziwei, he had no power to fight back. The Black Tiger is at least at the Lord level, right? Yuchen actually killed him in 1 second, it's amazing. This is a god, we can only look up to him. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 290. The audience outside the stadium screamed, and the mirror on the second floor was broken in an instant, and he suddenly panicked. He quickly spread his wings and flapped them violently, causing a shockwave under his feet, and he flew into the sky. Guilty flew for a few seconds, landed in the sky, and then breathed a sigh of relief. However, the next moment, a black hole suddenly appeared in the blue sky above his head. Immediately, a ferocious black demonic arm stretched out quietly. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Hands of Hell. Looking at the demonic arm appearing above Ginun's head on the field, the audience was shocked and exclaimed. Some of the innocent fans even shouted, "Above! Above! Come on NI! Can you have some quality? The competition is here." In an instant, the fans on Yuchen's side burst into disdain, and the two sides started to argue, causing a fierce quarrel in the entire audience of millions. However, their quarrel turned into a quarrel, and it only took less than a second from the release of the Hand of Hell to the appearance of the Hand of Hell. Yuchen had no time to react, and was pinched tightly by the Hand of Hell. Then, like throwing a baseball, he threw the innocent one towards Yuchen. The violent force caused Guilty to travel at a speed exceeding the limit, piercing the air and causing several shock waves. Looking at the flying baseball, looking at the flying Yuchen turned into a top, using his fighting spirit to generate a huge adsorption force, firmly catching Yuchen. Then, it spins wildly and strangles. Yuchen's Blade Storm is now at level 8, and the damage is already quite high. Coupled with his terrifying basic strength and firepower, as well as the total increase in fighting spirit and battle cry, he can break through the first level Mirror of Innocence in 1 second. The Blade Storm rotated for 3 seconds, click, 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 the innocent mirror broke 3 layers in a row. Spin stab and finishing blow. Double blade. When Yuchen was freed from the adsorption, his face was full of panic, and he was about to flap his wings and fly, but Yuchen strangled him continuously and broke the last 2 layers of mirrors in succession. At this point, the 9-fold Mirror of Innocence has completely lost its effect. The audience and Sin Guilty himself were all shocked to discover that Sin Guilty was still full of blood. Horrible. In other words, Yuchen always kills instantly. Fortunately, at this time, Yuchen finally flapped his wings and flew up, leaping high into the sky. Flying Thunder God. Yuchen raised his hand and threw a dart. The dart was faster and he caught up with Yuchen in an instant. The next moment, Yuchen teleported and stepped on the dart. At this time, he was no more than 1 yard away from Guilty, because Guilty was right in front of him. Phew. Yuchen put his hands together and used the red flame dagger to stab Yuchen's vest. As a muffled groan rang out, Yuchen's blood bar dropped to 0 in an instant. His eyes turned white and he fell to the ground helplessly. Yuchen also fell from a high altitude and stood in front of the innocent corpse. This scene was deeply engraved in the hearts of all the viewers. The two hosts, Xiaobo and Lisa, were dumbfounded. They held the microphone and were speechless for a long time. The auditorium outside the stadium was also eerily silent for a moment, and after a full 3 seconds, thunder and vibrations were heard. Hiss, Shuesha, it turns out that this is Yeshen's true strength. In the corner of the audience, Mingtian gasped and said to Shuesha next to him, his face full of joy. Shuesha also knows why he is lucky, because their killer guild almost became Yeshen's enemy some time ago. If they are really enemies, what should they do now? After thinking about it for a moment, Mingtian Shuesha felt dizzy and frightened. Not guilty, I'm afraid there is no chance of winning between the two of us. Now that Yeshen can crush him with full health, it is really unfathomable. Shuesha looked at Yeshen on the field with fear on his face. Hey, it's a pity. No matter how strong Yeshen is, it's useless. The god killer has been destroyed. Xinhui is now the only one in the light camp. I'm afraid he won't be able to make trouble by himself, and he will probably be targeted. Resulting in the account being deactivated, Mingtian sighed. Considering the general situation at hand, he had no choice but to make such a guess. However, he didn't know that Yuchen's second guild throne was about to be mounted, and once it was mounted, it would be a myth. Yes, we have been in the gaming industry for many years, but how many of those evildoers have forced their way forward and died young in the end? It's disappointing. Shuesha sighed, but if Yeshen really rises, China will definitely have a leader in the future national war. Unfortunately, this is just an extravagant hope. A corner of the auditorium, a myth. Ao Wushuan, forbidden fruit, collapsed. Ba Tian and others looked at the ring with equally shocked faces. But apart from being shocked, they looked at guilty, with sighs and a trace of unconcealable guilt in their eyes. The four of them looked at each other and fell into deep silence. On the other side, Brother Yuxiu and Heilong were actually sitting together, and between them sat a man in black robes. The man lowered the hood of the black robe so that outsiders could not peek into his face, but he could sit between the two top 8, Brother Yuxiu and Heilong, so his status must be extraordinary. Haha, being innocent is still not enough, Brother Yuxiu sneered. Humph, how can a sinless person be compared with the boss? If the boss comes on the stage, he will definitely kill Yeshen and win the championship. Black Dragon glanced at the man in black robe cautiously and laughed in a low voice. Innocence is just a stepping stone. His mythical status is destined to be replaced by us. The man in black robe sneered. If the three people's words were not specific to the occasion, they would be like three prodigal dogs, howling arrogantly here. But the three people themselves have very high status, which makes these words become extraordinary. If combined again, the expressions of the current mythical main force Ao Wushuan, forbidden fruit, and others will become even more elusive, and there seems to be some unknown conspiracy in them. But even if it is a conspiracy, no one knows about it except these parties. Even if he was not guilty, he was also kept in the dark. The first game ended and the second game started soon. After seeing Yechen's strength, most of the audience instantly became his supporters. For a moment, Yechen's cry was that he was completely innocent. After all, no matter what field, only the strongest will always receive the most attention. After the last defeat, Wuxin became even more nervous. As soon as the game started, he spread his wings and flew into the sky. However, Yuchen still calmly activated one buff after another, and then a hand of hell forcibly pulled Wuxin over and attacked crazily. Click, click, click. The sound of the mirror breaking resounded. Wuxin was frightened, his face was already covered with cold sweat, and he almost lost his will to fight. What's wrong? Aren't you crazy? Aren't you going to destroy me? Are you coming? Yechen was like a devil's judgment, knocking the innocent heart coldly every word, causing him to lose his mind. Then he attacked wildly and smashed a mirror with one knife.